Whoa, 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 whoa! Are you telling me keyboard kits for $100 can be this good? Who would have thought?
Whew, that's hefty. Hey guys, today we are looking at the Novelkeys NK65 Entry Edition, a 65% keyboard, as you would have guessed by the name, that is polycarbonate, and it is an ANSI layout. It comes with this really nice carrying case, and it's pretty generically packed. Not too much packaging inside, but from what I can tell, the case seems pretty protective. As I mentioned, this board will cost about $100 for the kit, so without switches or keycaps. I got mine in the beige color, and I think it looks really, really nice. The case seems pretty durable, it's got a little flex to it, but it should overall keep your keyboard safe. The keyboard has a pretty nice design and a nice bezel that goes all the way around, and the back has these two long rubber feet that should keep it in place. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is that the USB port is on the right hand side. However, I'm a huge fan that this keyboard is hot swap and has south-facing LEDs, which means no cherry profile keycap interference. Inside the case also comes with a QR code, which is an assembly video, but we definitely don't need that, and a coiled rubber covered USB cable. I'm just not a huge fan of cabled coils in general, so I'm not going to be using that. Overall, I really like the look of this board. The bezel is really nice, and along with the wedge shape, it just looks really sleek. In addition, the plate is made of polycarbonate, and it includes silicone dampeners inside. The case angle is 8 degrees, which for some people could be high, but I find it to be pretty enjoyable. For today's build, we're going to be using Kinetic Labs Hippo linear switch, a 5-pin switch, which bottoms out at 63 grams and only takes 55 grams to actuate, a total of 4mm travel. These switches offer a really smooth typing experience, and I think it combines the perfect bottoming out feel with the right amount of force. Although unlubed, it does sound a little scratchy at first, so you will definitely want to lube them. But hey, for $36 for 70 of these switches, I think that's a great deal, and they're always in stock. Moving on to the disassembly of the NK65. It is considered a top-mounted board, although there are 6 screws that are holding the top of the case and the bottom case in place with some standoffs. Once you get the screws out, just gently try to pry it open until you can separate the top from the bottom. Once you get it open, you'll notice that there is a silicone dampener inside. It's to add weight to the case, as well as to sound dampen the case, because it would be quite hollow without it. Like I said earlier, this is a top-mounted keyboard, so the PCB and plate are connected to the top of the tray. For this board though, that has been criticized, as there are 12 screws holding the plate and PCB into the top of the case. It just seems so excessive. I wish they would do something about that for the future models. Some other features about the keyboard is that there is a silicone dampener in between the plate and PCB, and the stabilizers are plate mounted, and they came factory lubed. However, I can confirm they definitely should be re-lubed. Moving on, I left out 4 screws out of the 12 for the plate and PCB, and 2 on top for the mount. I really just didn't think they were necessary. And then it came time to put our switches in. With a little bit of magic, we got them all in. And I should say, they are unlubed. I just wanted to do a quick test of these switches in this keyboard without any mods. And man, take a look at that. I think it looks so nice between the purple and the beige. Next up, we're putting on our keycaps, also from Novelkeys, and they are called Cherry Stone. Alright, so these keycaps are Disassembly PBT, and they are a off-white kind of beige color as well, which upon first getting them, I was worried they would blend in a little too much with the keyboard. However, they have some really nice accent colors for the mods, and I think it stands out just enough. Should you want this keycap set, it'll set you back about $85 on Novelkeys. However, you can definitely find cheaper alternatives that are Disassembly and that are double shot PBT. For this next part, I went ahead and plugged in the keyboard just to make sure that everything was functioning properly. I opened up VIA and did a key tester just to make sure that everything was actuating. Everything appeared to be working properly. All I had to do was just map out the right function and right control key. And now we're going to go ahead and put on our keycap set. And just like that, we got our keycaps on. Except there's 3 different color waves, so I really wasn't sure which one to do. So I experimented with all 3 of them, except I wasn't really satisfied with any one particular, so I ended up combining all three of them, and I got something like this. But what colorway was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. I personally think that all three combined looks the best. With all that done now, we're going to go ahead and do a sound test, just to see how it sounds completely stock with no mods. Before we go over the sound test, I just wanted to go over the RGB effects for this keyboard. The NK65 Entry Edition has per key RGB, all of which you can change using a program called VIA, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, but if not, it's a free program that you can download that allows you to do key mapping, change colors, change your brightness, and add effects to the colors of your keyboard. And I gotta say, for the NK65, it looks really good. Okay, getting back on track. So I thought this keyboard sounded pretty alright stock without any mods, but I definitely think for it to have a better and more premium sound, we're gonna have to do some mods. So I started taking out the keycaps, that way we can get to the screws and disassemble the keyboard once more. Once we get the spacebar off, we can then go ahead and take out our switches. The great thing about this keyboard is that it's hot swappable, so we can just pop out our switches. But not super easily. I couldn't tell if it was just the tolerance of the switches or the Kale hot swap sockets, but they actually needed a little bit of force to take out. Anyways, so we go ahead and disassemble our keyboard the same way we did earlier, and we have both of our parts. Starting out with the stabilizers, I can definitely tell they're going to need some tuning. I was wiggling them around with some tweezers, and they were rattling quite a bit. Because they're plate mounted, we can pop them off quite easily and get to some adjustments. You can see that there's factory lube on these stabilizers. However, I don't think it does very much, so you'll definitely want to take them apart and re-lube them yourself. I also went ahead and undid the two screws holding the PCB and plate into the top part of the case. And you can see that there is a silicone dampener that separates the plate and PCB, which I think is a great feature, and I hope more keyboards continue to do this. So moving on, we're going to do the tape mod to our PCB, which is simply putting a layer or two of painter's tape on the back of the PCB, which really helps get rid of some of the hollowness in the case, as well as provide some extra stock. And we all know we love that. And in a matter of minutes, we have our PCB covered in some nice painter's tape. Alright, moving on, I went ahead and lubed all the switches with Krytox 205G0. And even though these switches sound pretty alright by themselves, I highly recommend anyone who gets them to do the exact same. As for the stabilizers, I lubed them with Krytox 205G0 for the housing and the stem, and I put the ends of the wire in dielectric grease. I didn't do the holy mod this time, because if you leave your stabilizers good enough, you really shouldn't need it. Plus, it takes a while before it really breaks in and doesn't sound and feel so squishy. Now that we have our stabilizers back in, we can go ahead and put our switches in. And by using our telekinetic powers, we have them all in. And I have to say, the color combination of the purple and the beige looks really nice. And here's just a little sample of how the stabilizers turned out. Much better. With all that done, we're finally putting our keycaps back on. There's nothing quite like the feeling of putting your keycaps back on after having done a lot of work and modding your keyboard, because you know you've accomplished something. Above all, hopefully if you don't have any keyboard experience and after watching this video, now you're interested or intrigued in getting yourself one. And just like that, we have our last keycap on. I gotta say, I'm really happy with how this turned out, and I think that the NK65 Entry Edition looks really good. You definitely don't have to get the same color or same keycaps, but if you're looking for a budget option to get into the hobby, I think this is a great keyboard to start out with. Anyway, here's the sound test. For anyone who cares, here is a very subjective wobble test for the stem, and it really wasn't moving anywhere. Alright, so what did you guys think? I think the NK65 sounds good no matter what, but with some mods you can really improve the sound, although the spacebar needs some more work. The hippo switches are some of my favorite linear switches I've used at the moment, and I'll definitely get more. Overall, I really like this board, and honestly, right now, it might be my favorite, out of all the 4 keyboards I've modded at least. Overall, it has a pretty stiff typing experience, there's really not much flex at all, but I do like the 8-degree typing angle more than I thought I would. Well, that's all from me folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.